Hi, everybody. Becky here with Joelle Samson. And Joelle is one of the local business owners. He's the owner of the Nest, of the Island Nest. And I wanted to talk to Joelle today about how COVID-19 has affected his business. So welcome, Joelle.
Thank you, Becky.
So I'm sure that when the pandemic first started, you had to have had a lot of questions about what you were going to do next.
Yeah, the number one said, the government worked very quickly on how to let us know what they were going to do for us. They did move as quickly as they could, but when it first happened, no one knew what was going to come from it. And when it first happened, we had to close down all the eat-ins for the first 2 months. Luckily for us, I started doing a takeout window right before the pandemic hit, so we were able to adjust with just the takeout window.
Oh, thank God you had that in place already.
Yeah, we were lucky that we had that in place. Plus, we had our online ordering that people could order from the phone or their computer, and they can come right to the window.
So, how has that affected you, your staff? Like, has it motivated them, or has it depressed them, or?
Well, at the beginning, I had to lay most of them off for the first 2 months, and I had to do it mainly just me and one cook for the first bit, and then eventually I was able to bring them back. But then it was mostly just takeout, and it was a big adjustment for them because wearing a mask, wearing a shield, wearing sanitizing. It was a different way of doing business than we're used to, and more work.
Mm-hmm. And less tips.
And less tips.
Right. I never even thought about that until just now.
Well, that's a big thing too, because a lot of them rely on tips.
Of course.
And with just takeout window, there are still lots of customers that do, but most people don't tip for takeout.
Well, they don't think about it anyway.
No, it's not something. When you get takeout, you don't think someone's really doing a service, so it's not something you think of necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that your staff has gone out of their way to be good to people, especially I remember myself being at one point in time not able to actually even have any contact. I would go to your takeout window and you guys would put my food in the trunk of my car.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that.
And we did that for a lot of people.
Yes.
Like people would e-transfer the money and we would bring it out to them, or, if we could do what we could to try to help people.
Right. Because I think that, the reason the government was so slow to figure things out is because they also had never dealt with anything like this.
Well, no one ever have, so no one knew what to do.
Right.
They didn't know how to deal with it, and they didn't know what to give people or businesses. They didn't know what they needed.
Well, nobody knew yet.
No, that's...
So now you also would have lost your ability to have, bigger audiences for live music.
Well, even that, for the first little bit, we couldn't do any music at the beginning. And and even when you were able to, people weren't, we weren't allowed eat-ins at all. No one was allowed in for the first 2 months.
Right.
And even that, people weren't fussy about coming out.
No.
So it took time just to get people used to coming out again.
Mm-hmm.
And also the fact that we can only have limited seating, you got to be 6 feet apart, we can only allow for so much as well. So, we've taken a hit for sure on not being able to have as much entertainment. And plus, a lot of musicians, the local musicians that wanted to do it, couldn't really do it either.
No.
And nobody really wants to take the risk, the musicians or the businesses, because no one knows.
Right. Because there were also other things that you did that were quite social, like the trivia nights and those types of things.
Yeah, we did trivia nights. We did Kid Got Talent. We did a bunch of...
You sure did.
And that worked out good.
That was a good one.
Yeah, we did that 2-3 times. And we did trivia night and different stuff to try to bring in people. And that was working all great before the pandemic.
So were there any, did the government programs help you at all?
I was one of the lucky ones that I actually was able to get a good amount. I was able to get some provincial help money-wise. The provincial government gave us money because they forced us to close and gave us money to help us reopen. The federal government was able to give us access to loans,
right?
Which that was a huge help.
Yes.
And interest-free loan is it really helped people that are it's good to have it, just even if you don't need it, you have it in case you do need it.
Right.
Because nobody knows what to bring.
Mm-hmm.
And the wage subsidy was also a really big thing, because that was when after the 2 months I opened my doors. For the first month or two, I really couldn't afford to bring back all the staff.
No.
But I brought them back because I had a wage subsidy. So I was able to bring back all my staff after 2 months to do exactly what they were doing before, even though financially I couldn't afford it. But because of the wage subsidy, I was able to do it.
And the other part of that too, Joel, is that your staff is more like a family.
Yeah.
I've always noted that. So I'm sure you must have felt some remorse having to lay them off.
Well, I'd say for me that was probably one of the biggest sins because I mean I always like said they're like a family for me, and I always said like to myself, you never have to worry, you always have a job. But then it was tough to have to do that. I mean, the good thing about all my staff understood. They were all understanding, and they all knew. They understood, and they were good about it.
And they trusted that you were going to bring them
Yeah,
back.
and they trusted I was going to bring them back, and I did. And
Rightfully so.
right now, none of them are doing any less. Besides the first 2 months, they're all back to exactly the hours they had before.
Yeah, so they're very fortunate. And you're fortunate to have workers that are loyal to you.
Well, I'm very fortunate. I mean, even when I laid them off, they always said if you need any help, if we do get busier, they were there to jump in. Where I mean, there was lots of employees that just used the layoff and had a reason not to go back to work.
Right.
And I was lucky that my staff wanted to go back to work.
Because I'm sure at one point in time, I mean, it was kind of discussed about how CERB actually paid out more than people were actually making.
Well, in the majority, I would say in most small businesses, most employees in small businesses actually made more money in the CERB than they did on average. I think that's true.
Exactly.
And then that's why there was a lot of employees that didn't want to necessarily go back to work.
Why?
Because they were getting paid more money to do less.
Right.
Where I was very fortunate that all my staff weren't like that. They wanted to come back to work.
Right.
But there was a lot of small businesses that I think the CERB might have hurt them a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think some of them did suffer as a result of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of question the amount of money that came in over CERB.
Yeah, I think for the government it was very tough to figure. I mean, they're trying to put it out as quick as possible, but trying to make it fair for everybody.
Yeah.
But then it's like some people didn't get enough money they're used to. Some people got more money, so it's.
Yeah. So, how do you think the Nova Scotia government has done with this pandemic?
I think they've done very good. I'm very impressed with the Nova Scotia government, and I think that they really stepped up their game.
Yeah.
And I think provincially, McNeil gave us a lot of support. And then
Dr. Strang, I have so much respect.
Dr. Strang, I mean, he's been done a great job. And I think the government did everything they could possibly do. They couldn't have done anything more, in my opinion.
I don't really think. I think that everybody is doing what they can still.
Yeah, I mean, this is new. No government ever went through this before. So nobody knew. And I think the provincial government did what they could. It took them a little bit of time to figure it out.
Yep.
But they figured it out. And actually, the provincial government moved a lot quicker to federal, and they were able to give up money very quickly, which I was happy. Like the provincial government was able to give out money within the first couple of weeks after they made you close.
So in your case, you're one of the lucky business owners that actually continues to have a product that you can offer, but there are other businesses really that don't. There might be services that don't have the same ability to generate an income. So what advice would you give to other small business owners?
Well, I mean, it's not an easy. And I've been very fortunate with that. Like you said, I was able to continue, able to get lots of support from the community. And I mean, but food is something that everybody needs all the time. Where you're right, there's a lot of other small businesses that people don't necessarily need or want those services at the moment. And all I can say is, all you can do is just try to tough it out, try to make sacrifices, do what you got to do to try to wait it out. I mean, nobody knows who this is going to be in, but all you can do is try to do what you can.
So where do you see yourself a year from now?
Well, I'd like to say a year from now I'm completely back to normal, but I'm not convinced we're going to go back to normal. And what is the new norm going to be? I'm not even sure.
And that goes for everything that we do in our everyday life.
Yeah, how quickly are they actually going to get rid of you wearing a mask? I think that's going to go on for a long time.
I think so. And I'm pretty sure that if I read correctly, in the pandemic 100 years ago, people wore masks for 3 years.
Yeah, this could be years to come.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so nobody really knows. I like to say it'll be back to normal and you can go and you'll be able to dance again and that, but I can't see that happening for a while.
Mm-mm. No, I think you're right. You know, it's like our grandmothers and great grandmothers used to say, wash your hands, wash your hands. Have you ever noticed they were always getting
Yeah.
after you? Well, I guess they knew something that we didn't know because they probably had been a part of that pandemic or had somebody related to them that
Yeah.
was. So that's, that's it's kind of comforting that they could get through it. And then it's kind of scary that a lot of social media has, you watch social media and you say, oh, no, we shouldn't wear masks. And, oh, yeah, we should. But, we are all in this together.
That's the way I
So,
see it. I mean,
we
you're all
do what we do.
together. You gotta try to do what's best for everybody.
That's absolutely right.
And I mean, if you don't do it, I mean, it's never gonna go away.
No. And I myself really believe there's going to be a really big party after this is all over.
Well, I like to hope so. And I always said, like at the restaurant, I like to do something big or a big event
Yeah.
when I finally can.
Yeah.
I mean, this year, one of our biggest nights of the year, Boxing Night, I had to cancel it. Which is a big hurt for a small business
Oh
like
yes,
me.
and that's been a big event for the Nest since the Nest opened.
Over 20 years.
I know. So I mean,
that
you
was
know.
definitely a big hit for us. It's a busy night of the year.
Absolutely was. I know. I know about that one. So yeah, I think things will get better, and I know you guys are doing the best you can. And I've always encountered friendly staff at your restaurant.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's because they like you.
Well, I think like I said, you said it before. We're like a family. We always laughing. We're having a good time.
Well, it's
but-
better than complaining.
Yeah, that's true.
Makes the day go by pretty
Yeah,
slow.
we'll have a good time, and everybody knows what they got to do,
That's
and
right.
we get it done.
That's right.
And that's all you can do.
It was a team.
Yeah, work as a team, and then everybody's happy, and then you don't feel like it's necessarily a job.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like it's just something you do every day.
The other thing too, I think that having the Nest open during the pandemic and having that drive-through window was almost like, because you weren't doing anything else, it was like a special night out to go through the drive-through.
Yeah, it was like people that never left the house. That was the excuse to leave the house.
Yeah, wow, we get to go to we're having Nest
Get to go for a
tonight.
drive, get some food, get some gas, and go home.
Oh, right, but I mean, it ended up being an event.
Yeah, it's true.
Strange how things happen, how things change overnight, because it was so quick, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, well, I find, I remember the Saturday night, we had Yvette and Danielle play. We had a good crowd. It was crazy busy. And then Monday morning, it was shut down. And it went just like that.
Wow. Yeah, I know. It was the same. It was the same at Telile.
Yeah.
Things change so rapidly. Luckily for us, we have a big studio, so we're able to really socially distance here.
Yeah.
We continue to do what we do. But yeah, I'm really happy that you've survived thus far.
Yeah, I survived so far. And I think, like, right now, I'd say for us, 80% is takeout. But we're just as busy as we always have right now, but mostly takeouts.
And you are having your wing nights again.
And we're still back to doing our wing night and doing some music. And
Yes, I know. Thursdays.
yeah, every Thursday night.
Thursday night. Pandemic Thursday.
Pandemic Thursday, wing night, and live music. And
Yeah, well, everybody is just itching for live music these days.
yeah, it's actually been like, it's something that you're so used to before. It's so rare now.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's great if you have a local person that's able to come in, and we appreciate Daniel for doing that.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's great.
yeah, it's awesome to have somebody local like that. As good as he is to come out and take his time to come out every Thursday.
And that money gets donated to a very worthy cause as well.
Yeah, he donates all the proceeds he gets. He donates it all, and
See, that's a beautiful thing.
so it's like it's all it's all stuff that's coming back in the community. And
Well, best of luck. Let's hope that within the next. I'm just going to try to throw a ballpark figure out there of 8 months
I hope so.
before next Christmas. Let's hope your Boxing Day comes back.
Yeah, I hope you're right. Thanks
I
a lot,
really would
Becky.
love to see that.
Oh, me too.
I'm sure. So thank you so much for coming in, Joelle. I appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime.
Okay.